naturally. I went to what many would believe is the source of all hosting knowledge, Pinterest. And instantly at my fingertips, I had countless blogs, articles, pins on the subject. Some of these are, this is what some of the things I found. 5 easy steps to becoming a better hostess. 22 things a good hostess always has in her home. Hostess faux pas, 12 things a hostess should never do. And how to host like Martha. Martha Stewart, not Mary Martha. But I thought it was funny. I never noticed the similarity. And this is my favorite, the 10 commandments of hosting. 1, keep your guest list manageable. 2, consider hosting on a weeknight or Friday. 3, send out the invite at least a week ahead of time. 4, a week before your party, assess your inventory. 5, get creative with serveware. 6, feel no shame in outsourcing. 7, prep as much of the menu ahead of time as possible. 8, don't ever overlook the ambiance. 9, serve the meal family style. And 10, keep the alcohol flowing. Which Jesus' first miracle was turning water to wine, but I don't know that it's the same thing. So we had a lot of fun kind of working on this talk together. And if you know us, you know we both love to host and have people in our home, and like Lauren said, we do it a little differently. For example, if you're going to come to our home for dinner, one of these photos is what you will maybe see at my house, and one of them is what you will see at my mom's house. I'm not going to tell you who. But really, that just kind of shows our differences. I have a lot of fun with, I actually enjoy reading this, the 10 Commandments. And I was like, oh, good ideas. So we are different in those ways, but really when we started talking about it, that stuff is all pretty silly. We're all gifted in different ways, and although they can both be really good things if you really love the hostess aspect of hospitality, or like the getting your home and all that, like it's great, but that's really not what hospitality is. It's really not about what your table looks like, it's about who is sitting around your table, and that's what true hospitality is about. And this is just the first thing that we kind of thought of when we were talking about what true hospitality is, and kind of opening up the word to see really what God has to say. And there's a really cool story in Luke 10, and it's about 2 sisters, Martha and Mary. I'm sure you've all heard it, but I'm going to read it to you. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed them into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet, listening to all that he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, "Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all of the work? Tell her to come and help me." The Lord said to her, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all the details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about, and Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her." Martha was so distracted by the 10 commandments of hosting, if you will, and she was so distracted by all of the details that she really was missing what was right in front of her, who was Christ. And he tells her that Mary has discovered, she's figured out that who is in her home, and she's investing in and paying attention to the person who happened to be Jesus. But whoever is in our home, that is what true hospitality is all about, is focusing on the person and the people that we're bringing into our home, and not all of the details surrounding it. And I think God says both are good. It's good that Martha was serving him, but our focus needs to be on the people. Unfortunately, I think our culture, especially today, has synonymously used the word entertaining for hospitality. But I'm going to argue that they're two very different things. Especially this time of year, we're going to hear a lot about entertaining around holidays, and there's probably going to be like 12 Today Show segments on it. And entertaining is what I think can get us so stressed out and focused on the details and worried about getting our homes ready, and it's what makes us start yelling at our kids. I do the same thing. But we're going to talk about what we think true hospitality and what Christ has called us to do with our homes and with our lives. What that's really all about. Webster defines hospitality as the generous and friendly treatment of visitors and guests, the activity of providing food and drinks to people who are the guests in our home. I think that's a pretty good definition. It talks about being generous, it talks about being friendly, and it talks about having guests in our home, which having a guest in your home implies that you actually have to invite people into your home. And of course, hospitality definitely includes food. Like Lauren said earlier, 1 Peter 4:9 says, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. The verse doesn't start out, if you want to show hospitality, or if you're gifted in this area, show hospitality, but it calls us all to show hospitality. It's not something that really is an option. I think it's something that we're called to do as believers. We're called to be hospitable to one another, and we're called to do so joyfully, without grumbling. So we're going to maybe talk about kind of how we can do that this Christmas season. So
it's really funny because the first thing she did when she heard about hospitality was she was like excited. She likes to go to Pinterest. She likes to, and the first time Lauren asked me, I was like, are you kidding me? I've had so many of you here. I know I've been in my home, and I've been in homes of you ladies, and I always felt very inadequate as far as the creative part. I don't like to do it. It's like torture for me. I don't like decorating. My girls, they're all so good at it. So I'm thankful that I did pass down. I think they all love to have people in their homes, and I think that that's the main thing. And she brought up Martha Stewart. It's funny, yesterday when we got together, this kind of took a whole different turn, but I'll go back to the Martha Stewart. She doesn't even know this, but I got on there. It was funny, I kind of was, what did you call that word when you, like, a rabbit trail, that's what it is, on Facebook, and somebody had put something about hospitality or decorating, and you know how they have those little things on the side, and one of them said, like, Martha Stewart. And so I got on there and I started reading stuff, and I went, this is absolutely the stupidest thing I've ever done. Such as, did you know, you should never put a fork on a napkin? What? Exactly, that's what I said. Because it is too much work for the guest to remove the fork. I know, exactly. So I said, well, this is just really dumb. And she all those other things, she thinks it's, that's really fun. That's just kind of the difference between us. Opening the can of beans, I get it. Yeah, Nicole. So anyways, what I really loved about, like yesterday we got together, a couple times we have, and yesterday it kind of took a whole different turn when Jenna brought up something that I never really thought about, and I'm really thankful she did, because to me it was like spot on, it was perfect. In Acts, when Jesus has commissioned the 12 to go. Well, this was in Matthew 10, I think it's Matthew 10, I'm sorry. But anyways, where he commissions the disciples to go, and he says, don't take anything with you. He says, don't even take a shirt, don't take sandals, don't take a money bag, don't take anything, just go. Okay, well, so what that implied, and then he, they always went into the homes of people, into the different cities that they were spreading his word. And back then, that was really an act of sacrifice, I would imagine, for a lot of the people that were welcoming them into their homes. I imagine some of them stayed for quite a long time. I don't think they were affluent people like, we have so much in this day and age. But so back then, it was all about just opening them up, welcoming them, hosting them for probably quite a long time, but the food, and it's funny because all of it is, read Acts. So I just kind of thumbed through Acts, and it just it just jumped out at me because I was reading it for that purpose of finding out and of how many times they were just welcomed into people's homes. And we do know in the Bible, it seems like they got together so much more around food, and food was always involved. And I think we kind of miss out on that. I think we think of doing church as Sunday morning or Tuesday morning Bible study, and we've kind of let go of that gathering together, doing life together, sharing food. If you love to decorate and you love to have, I don't even own a pair of chargers. I didn't even know what a charger was until a few years ago at someone's house here. But so that, and I used to always really kind of feel bad about that, but you know what, I'm okay with that now. And I really just want people to come around and share life stories, have kind of like what I would imagine the disciples did, but I want to know people. I want to know their relationship, that just that they have, what things they love to do, what things, when they came to know the Lord, whatever it is, just have conversation with them. And so, but if you love, I'm not knocking people at all who love to decorate and who love to plan these wonderful meals. I know there are people in here who that is what they thrive on. But I used to think I really shouldn't be hosting because I don't do that well. I'm not, I think I cook okay and stuff, but I'm not a decorator. I'm really not. And so I love that turn that she, brought, because we kind of had a different road we were going. And I loved how really, I think hospitality is really shown in Acts about, and it's just getting together, fellowship. I think we need to get back to that more as far as, you know what, how many here always have, I know there's some people, I know one person, I'm not going to mention their name, who probably always has a clean house. And this lady actually loves to clean. I mean, it's like her thing. But does it really matter? I mean, I have never gone into somebody's home and thought, oh my gosh, this is so disgusting, I never want to go out again. But, so anyways, I think for this, it's just like an encouragement to let's get together, let's show hospitality by sharing each other's lives, showing interest in them, especially people who are, maybe new to the faith, or that's kind of how we disciple them. In that whole series that we've been doing this last few months that now is just over on, making disciples, we really need to show that Christian fellowship with these people. It's not going to cut it just Sunday mornings or Tuesday mornings or whatever. But okay, she's up here. Oh, I'm supposed to do tips. Okay. Well, you kind of did. Those are the 12 commandments. Be prepared, plan ahead. Well, I'm always big on this. Talk with your spouse about his plans or whatever.
So we just were going to share like 2 simple practical tips that, we talk about, the true meaning of hospitality, but then also when it comes down to it, it does take work and time to have people over to your house, to feed people, to make the meals and whoever's coming. So super practically, be prepared and plan ahead. Like Noll said, talk with your spouse, schedule with your husband first what's best. I know I've been guilty of this, like talking with my girlfriends or whatever, and be like, oh yeah, you guys can go over for dinner on Tuesday night. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, that means that every night for the next 10 nights, we have something going on because I forgot to ask Brandon and I forgot to, that type of a thing. So I've kind of just made that a rule in my mind, like before I ever schedule anything, like we have to talk about it first to make sure that we don't way overbook our schedule, because especially during this time of the year, like it happens. So talk with your husband, meal prep. Do easy meals and do meals that you can also like prep as much before they get there. Do like a crock pot or have something in the oven so that when your guests get there, if you could just like take it out, serve it up, and spend time with your guests, not so much time in the kitchen. I know I get like super frustrated when I'm trying to like finish up the meal and they're all in the living room and I can't be out there visiting and the kids are going crazy and you're like, so like do simple meals, something when they get there, like soup is so easy, like done, dinner's done, and then you can actually visit with your guests and not spend all the time in the kitchen. And then the other one is just be intentional with your guests. Be aware of who they are and like focus on them. If you have a bunch of young kids coming over, like simple food and take things down that are gonna break if you don't want them to break. Just like think ahead. If you have kids of your own, prepare them for who's coming over. I know when we're like around my grandma, before we get there, I try to like give my kids this like pep talk, you know, like, okay, you guys, like let's try to be a little bit more quieter. Super loud noises hurt our ears. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like you have to prepare your kids for, I have to, because when I forget to, then we're there and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're crazy, and I forgot to like warn them. So talk to your kids. If you have other kids coming over to your home and your kids have super special toys, that they're like really don't want other kids playing with, that's fine. Like let's put the toys up so that when the kids are there and you're in the moment, your kids aren't all like fighting over the same toy and then you're like embarrassed because your kids are like being totally selfish. So prep your kids, like we're gonna share all of our toys tonight, and if you don't want to share this toy, then we're gonna like put it in the closet, we're not gonna bring it out. Just be aware of like who's coming over as far as like when you're gonna eat. Same thing like my grandma, like we try to eat like by 5 or 5:30, but you know, so just like to be aware of the person who's coming. Don't focus on the details of your home as much as you focus on who's coming and you want them to feel welcomed, you want them to be comfortable, that type of a thing. And that's really, those are like silly little things that I think we all know, but really, just to close, kind of something that I noticed as I was looking through the Bible on hospitality. A lot of what I was reading and when it talks about hospitality, a lot of the times it's talking about showing hospitality to strangers. And really most of the things that I read, I'm not gonna say most of the time it talks about because I don't know for sure, but most of what I was reading is talking about showing hospitality to strangers. And at first I was like, I don't really like that because I like can't invite that man outside of Vaughn's into my home like with my 3 kids. Like I'm not saying we don't show hospitality to them or love on them in different ways, but then my mom pointed out, well, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to mean like a stranger like outside on the side of the freeway or whatever, you know, like when you have a home, I'm like, how do I invite them into my home? Like I don't know. I mean, if you're feeling called to do that, that's awesome. But you know, when you have kids at home, I'm like, I don't know how to do that, Mom. But she was like, no, like strangers, there are strangers in this room. We all don't know one another. And like when new families come into our church and you notice them, like they are strangers to us. Strangers are people just who we don't know or have a relationship with yet. And so we are called, I believe, as Christians to reach out and invite strangers into our home. Notice the family who's here on Sunday who maybe are new or who don't know very many people yet. Invite them over for dinner. Or maybe it's strangers who we have known for a while but never invited into our home. Like I know I have neighbors all around me who we've never invited into our home. Or maybe it's a coworker at work who you really don't know that well. Hospitality is for the purpose of inviting them into your home to get to know them, and ultimately it's for the purpose of the gospel. Like my mom was sharing, discipleship really happens. Like true discipleship can't happen without hospitality because it requires that we do life with one another and we get to know them, and then they get to know us and see how we do life and see how we treat our families and our spouses and our kids. And that's really all for the purpose of sharing the love of Christ. So this holiday season, maybe think about a stranger in your life or someone in your life who you can welcome into your home this season for the purpose of sharing Christ.